As summer nears its end and we get towards the fall, we start the anticipation of the approaching games of the holiday season. However, we're not there yet, so the waiting game continues. But in the meantime, there are still goings-on in the video game world that can be talked about, so buckle your pants and settle in for another free play episode where I haven't a clue as to what we'll discuss, which is half the fun. That's next, right here on Downloadable Content. Downloadable Content, I'm Brian, and once again we have Kat.
Hi.
And we have Ronnie.
Greetings.
And salutations.
Greetings and salutations. Good evening, morning, whatever it is, wherever you are. It's great to have you on this podcast. Let's get started.
Hey!
Hey!
Wow, he has more enthusiasm than I do.
Well, that's because I'm convinced Ronnie chugged 6 Red Bull before we started, and
I don't even drink Red Bull.
He hates Red Bull, though. He would always look at me like, "Why are you drinking that vile toxic sludge?" And I'd be like, "Shut up."
I do have a Coke in front of me, and I did have fried chicken, and that, my friends, is the pure fuel that keeps this body running.
Nice.
It's the tryptophan. That's what it is.
Yeah,
so, we all have things to talk about. Anybody want to roll a d6 on who's going first?
Well, I already decided I'm going first.
Okay, we'll jump on in.
I am going to start the bidding here. I was rummaging through the internet like I usually do, and I came across this particular article a couple of days ago. This was August 7th, talking about how a gamer, and of course it had to be an American gamer. I'll add to that view in a second. Who is suing Sony over the graphics from the game Killzone Shadowfall.
I saw it.
I saw this article on Polygon and I went, the fuck? And again, only an American gamer would do this. The lawsuit alleges that Sony I'm quoting from the article now. Alleges that Sony advertised Killzone Shadowfall would run at 1080p natively, but used, quote, a technological shortcut that was supposed to provide subjectively similar results. The single player and multiplayer run at 1080p. However, the multiplayer version, the multiplayer mode, they use a technique called temporal reprojection. It combines pixels and motion vectors. It's basically upscaling, and it produces a 1080p image.
So basically, they pulled what the Atari Jaguar did years ago with, well, it's the first 64-bit system. It's not actually 64-bit, but by using these weird technological loopholes, we can say it's 64-bit.
Basically, yes. So this guy is suing Sony to the tune of $5 million because it doesn't run, because the multiplayer does not natively run 1080.
Here's a question. Is he suing them for $5 million himself, or is he doing this as a class action thing, where $5 million would be gotten by all the people who bought Killzone Shadowfall?
Let's find out.
Because that's a good question there, because if he's shooting for $5 million himself, that's wrong. If he's suing them over deceptive advertising for all the people who bought it, that's a different thing. And honestly, as much as people talk about gamer entitlement, this is something I think should happen more often, not just in video games, but in life, where deceptive ads, people should be held responsible for their deceptive ads. Companies should.
Pretty much.
Let's see. I think it is class action. The article does not specifically come right out and say it.
Yeah, but if it's 5 million, he's doing it himself. It's got to be class action.
The lawsuit was filed by a law firm who has done class action lawsuits against the video game industry before. This particular law firm, Edelson PC, they hit Sony and EA with a class action lawsuit in 2011.
And by the way, I don't believe that my opinion on this will be the popular one, because I'm pretty sure you brought this up because of how ridiculous it is.
I did bring it up because of how ridiculous it is, and to also make a point again how we in this country, at the very least, put so much emphasis on graphics in a game, to the point now where we are now suing, apparently, because a game doesn't run exactly as it might have been said it would.
Where's the difference between that and outright lying? Shouldn't a company be held responsible for being deceptive? Does it matter if it was graphics or if it was something else? If they said that, I'm trying to think of a good example of this, where I can. I'm trying to think of a franchise where I can go, well, if they said that you could buy this one and you could play as this character, and a bunch of people went and bought it because that was a hugely popular character from the previous game in the series, and then they did not have it, but it was still advertised as such, I'd imagine there would be a pretty big backlash. If you advertise something, the consumer should expect that what you're advertising is true. And I realize that our society's moved away from that. I personally think that's wrong, though. And if we just shrug our shoulders and go, well, it's to be expected that that we shouldn't trust ads. Well, I don't trust ads either, but that doesn't mean that I think that it's right that they outright lie in them.
I don't necessarily think it's an outright lie. I mean, you're still getting in this instance, in this game, you're still getting a 1080p image. It's even, despite the fact that it's not natively running 1080p, I don't know if in the advertising for this game, if Sony actually said it would run natively at 1080p.
You could upscale a Super Nintendo to run in 1080p.
Yes, you could.
You'll just have giant pixels. At that point, you're getting to technicalities of where you can say anything is 1080p because it doesn't actually mean anything. 1080, when you say what resolution something runs at, you were talking natively. That is the assumption in anything. You're not going to say that something that 720p runs at 1080p, because it doesn't. You can upscale it to 1080p, but that's not what it's actually running at. I don't know what technological wizardry they're doing to claim it. Maybe they are doing something more than just upscaling, and if so, there are shades of gray in this. In fact, I'm kind of looking into that right now, so I know if I'm being an asshole or if I'm actually arguing a good point. But
which one is it?
I don't know. I'm finding out.
That's the cliffhanger. On the next episode of Downloadable Content, is Ronnie an asshole?
Yes, on the next episode of Downloadable Content,
thrilling
is Ronnie an asshole?
The thrilling conclusion.
My wife says yes.
Bit of an inherent bias there, apparently. Class allegations in the lawsuit include negligent misrepresentation, false advertisement, unfair competition, and fraud.
Wow. They've been busy. Well, what do you think, Brian?
Not having played the game, I can't really judge. Not having played the game, and I mean, for my own personal tastes in video games, I do not put graphics at the forefront. Most of the time, I really don't give a shit at what resolution a game is, because for me, personally, graphics are not the overriding factor in a game.
Well, let's see. Let's take a look at what I've been playing. Final Fantasy VII, Bastion, Fez, download DLC quest, Cthulhu Saves the World. Yeah, graphics aren't the number one thing on my mind. I more see this as an issue with honesty in advertising, with deceiving your customers.
You could make a case that this could be false advertising. Certainly. But it also this article smells like somebody was bored.
Yeah,
Probably.
And it probably still, even with the upscaling, it probably still looks very good on an HD TV.
Oh yeah. Well,
so
pretty much everything looks good on an HD TV that's on the new systems.
It just sounds like somebody's trying to argue semantics.
Okay. If they said, our graphics look amazing, and he goes, it's not 1080p, and sues them for that, that would be bullshit. But if they make a claim and the claim isn't true, that's not semantics. Let's put it this way. If you sold a DVD and called it a Blu-ray, or said that it output at the same resolution as a Blu-ray, and the person brought it home and went, this doesn't look like a Blu-ray, that doesn't make them a graphics whore to call out the person for doing that. It doesn't.
Right. But also two different types of media.
And?
The difference between a DVD and a Blu-ray disc are two completely different. They're two completely different types of media.
Well, okay, yes. That's why I corrected myself partway through and said that if you sold a DVD to someone and said, this will output at the same resolution as a Blu-ray, you'd be lying to that person.
Absolutely, and that person, if they believed you, would be an idiot.
Yeah, yes, but you know what I mean. If you did that on a national television channel, you would probably be called out for it.
Instantly!
Yes, quite rightly, too. That's what I see this as. Like, if they're making a false claim, they should be called out for it. I don't know enough about it, because I know absolutely nothing about the game. Yeah.
Neither do I, and it's a shoot 'em up. One of the many boring military-style shoot 'em ups we've got out there, and I stay away from. I steer clear from those. I avoid those like the plague.
So do I. I'm not a fan of FPSs generally, even though there's a couple that I'll play, such as I still need to finish BioShock. I really enjoyed it.
Yes, you naughty, naughty boy.
Yes, I think I was probably talking about that when we did our first podcast together.
Yeah, probably. So get with it!
Yes.
So we have the news that Sony is being sued over graphic capabilities in Killzone Shadowfall. So now that we've talked about that, I'm going to shift next to our dear Kat. Because she isn't on many of these things, and I'm going to put her on the spot. And I know you can talk about stuff.
There's a lot of
I've
stuff.
read your blog. I know you can talk about stuff.
I can indeed. God, what has happened this week?
You don't even have to worry about non-disclosure agreements.
I was actually about to bring that up.
So rant away.
Side note, can I swear?
Yes.
Fuck you.
We encourage swearing.
That's all I have to say about that is fuck you.
Well, would you care to give a little bit of background so that our listeners have any idea what you're talking about? Because we are well aware.
Oh yes,
harassment in the gaming industry.
Well, here I'll give the really short thing
Cliff
to
notes.
give a little background to your thing. Cliff notes. Kat worked for a video game. What actually were they categorized as? Was that esports? Was that esports commentary and stuff? Yeah.
Esports social media. That was what it did.
Yes. And Kat dealt with a lot of sexism from some of her more insensitive coworkers. Many of it was very colorful. And not the good kind of colorful, not the kind you expect to see when you play a commie. And she has since been let go by that company. After
I was laid off. Let go sounds like you were fired. Laid off is the nicer version.
I was just trying to say you no longer work there.
No, but theoretically, until I, came out on the internet about how gross they were, I could have gotten my job back. Now I don't actually want it, so
good.
Free game.
So, care to talk about your experiences?
You
don't have to. We can go on to something else.
I don't know. I mean, I guess in a way that I should, but it's like I'm still kind of sitting here like it actually happens, and it's just really a lot to wrap your head around, especially because I moved.
Well, I think it might be you need a little bit of distance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's not really that much separation when I'm still stuck in Texas. Like, I'm still here. Yeah, I know. And like, I just can't really wrap my head around the fact that none of them said anything. Like, no one said anything. And like, people actually came to me and said, why didn't you tell your boss? Because the head of our HR department was his wife. That's legit. What good was that going to do me? That sounds realistic.
Now, was it just the employees or was it the boss too who was?
It was just the employee. It was my supervisor. It wasn't the CEO. He was fine. No problem with him. He was fine. If he ever listens to my podcast, which, God, I hope not. But, like...
It's the gaming community. It's a small world.
If they're listening, I hate half of you.
Take a guess on which half you're part of.
Basically, yeah. Take a guess. But... I had people tell me, well, you should have just brought it up to higher level people. Well, when it's a small company and you're the only girl, bringing that stuff up makes you basically a target. It would be like painting a target on me that said, if you say something to me, I'm going to flip out about it. Even though what they said was really gross, that's how they would see it, is that I was the one that was causing problems. So... I just kind of sat there and was like, all right, I'd rather keep my job than have people think that I'm like the stereotypical girl that can't take a joke, because that's how it is. Oh, you can't take a joke? Oh, you thought it was fun? I thought it was funny. It was supposed to be funny. That's what guys say a lot is, it was just a joke. And you're like, could you not? It's like, no, not funny. You're not funny. You're not cute. And I don't know. It's just a white dude bro, and I'm saying dude bro, fuck whatever people. I had an issue on Facebook where people didn't like me saying dude bro. Fuck them too. Because dude bro encompasses a certain type of dude, and they know who they are, and they're just no.
I actually agreed with the person who spoke up to you before.
That's fine.
It'd be like if I worked with a bunch of people who were on the GLBT spectrum and started using a synonym of queer to describe them and go, well, no, it's just the ones who are mean to me at work that are like that. I don't mean you. I don't mean everybody else. I mean these specific people who are mean to me at work. Like, they're completely wrong with what they did to you, but dude bro, like, there's no way you can't say that that's specifically referring to the boys in the video game community.
Is there another term for them? Neckbeards? I don't know. Like,
we can make another one.
Like, is there another term to the gatekeeping guys that are like, have you seen all 5 episodes of this anime backwards before you can watch the show?
I'm completely against what they're saying, and I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying and everything. Just that terminology to me is like it's very.
Can I just say bros? Like
Sure.
bros. Like
Go with
those.
bros.
So you know those white guys that wear neon and like with their hats backward, and they're usually gaggles of white dudes going, bro, did you see that, bro? Those guys. They're everywhere here.
So they're stuck in like 1994.
No, this is a thing now with
I know.
teenagers, and I don't know why it happens, but I don't like it.
Gatekeeping is a terrible phenomenon. It comes out in anything that has fans, and some communities are better than others. A lot of it is how accepting the community is of that behavior, but it's even in the most accepting communities, it still exists on some level, and it's something that the community needs to fight and needs to be told this is not acceptable.
There's problems within communities with people talking over each other, though. That happens a lot in the, quote, LGBT gaming, quote, community, because it's basically full of, like, cisgender straight women that like to RP gay dudes, and they just completely exclude everyone that doesn't fit their little, like, yaoi elf fantasy. It's bizarre.
I would say gatekeeping, showing that you can, you can't be a fan if you don't know this, or you haven't played this, or you are not well versed enough in this.
Yeah.
It's complete bullshit. It's a way of trying to make you feel superior to other people.
Basically, yeah. And like with the whole harassment thing, it was like, yeah, it happened and it sucked, but like I am not at the job anymore, so it's kind of like I don't talk to any of those guys, and I said my piece. It's all over the internet. People read it every day. It's just another statistic. So, like, yeah, it happened to me, but I'm just one of the many people that this is going to happen to this year. Like, because guys in general in the gaming industry think that their behavior like that is okay. And I don't know why that is, why gaming and why tech has that culture of white dude entitlement. Like, why is that a thing? Can we do something else?
That's been the case throughout all of recorded history, and it's a very sad thing, and it is something that I think definitely needs to change. Especially, I mean, we're strictly in the gaming community, as this discussion pertains to half the gaming population. It's a practically even split.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that there's this notion, and has been since video games have come into existence, that video games are a guys-only club is completely unfounded and statistically wrong.
Yep.
Part of the statistics that people like to throw around is it is 50-50 split, but a lot of this also comes from the fact that part of the way that it's the 50-50 split is that casual gaming definitely it has, I believe, the like 65 to 70% of casual gaming, like phones and everything else, are female. Meanwhile, when you get to computer gaming and some of the stuff that people consider more hardcore gaming, it's splits towards males. And that's part of how this culture perpetuates, because the places that this culture is the strongest is the places that female influence is the least.
Yeah, women aren't feeling that they're welcome in esports. They're not feeling that they're welcome in PC gaming because of this culture. And how do we change that? Like, if we could change that, it would have kept me my job. But like I said, I'm not sure I actually want to be in that kind of company, because that's not the gaming industry I want to work for, you know?
And that's certainly understandable, and you shouldn't have to deal with that at all. Anywhere.
The only way to change it is to try to change the culture itself. We're all part of gaming culture right now. This podcast will be listened to by tens of people who will all hear our message and spread it wide, possibly.
Possibly.
Tens of people. We do occasionally break into the hundreds.
That was a joke, Brian. But on a more serious level, really, what it comes down to is gaming culture has an issue. A lot of people realize it's an issue, and talking about it on the internet spreads it. But that is nowhere near enough. The bigger thing that needs to happen is when people do this kind of stuff, they need to be called out on it. And it can't just be by... And yes, well, not just by the target either. If I see somebody doing this kind of crap, I'm going to call them out on it. And the more people who do that, the more people that react, the people who are doing this will realize they're not welcome. That this attitude is not welcome and not acceptable. And that's the only way for change to happen, is people have to stop shrugging and going, well, that's the gaming community. Or even, Kat, you didn't feel comfortable speaking up at your job because you didn't want to lose your job, and that's completely understandable. But any one of your coworkers that saw this could have stepped forward and gone, that, that's, you shouldn't be saying that. That's messed up. They could have,
but it was
and they
Skype,
didn't.
So it was over Skype, so he knew. He knew that if he said it out loud, that someone would call him on it. He messaged it over Skype. He was a sly little fucker.
Okay, then I can't say anything about the people who were working with you, but either way, the premise still stands of, when you see this kind of stuff, you have to speak out, and you have to speak out against it. If nobody wants to rock any boats, but unless people take a stand and go, this isn't acceptable, it is acceptable. Unless people stand up and go, we're not going to accept this in our community, then that means you're accepting it in the community. When good men do nothing.
Well, there you go. That's basic. Now that you basically took everything I was going to say, because I completely agree with you there.
I'm sorry. I'll shut up.
That's okay. That's alright. That's why we have this episode. You can talk for as long as you want. It's an open discussion. Anything you want. So, I mean, the fact that this still exists is very, very annoying, because I like to think of the gaming community as being all-inclusive. It's meant to be all-inclusive. There should not be any notion of an exclusive club anywhere in the gaming industry. We're all here to enjoy ourselves.
I like to think it that way in general, but has it really been that way in your experience?
No, not at all. I'm giving you an ideal.
Oh, okay. I'm like, because in my experience, I'm not even talking about just women in the gaming community. Fans of this franchise will hate anybody who likes that franchise. Or if you don't play this game, then you're not a gamer. Or if you like that kind of game, you're not a gamer. Or, there have always been so many divisions.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Starting with the video game wars. You either like Super Nintendo or you like Genesis. You like the Master System or you like Nintendo. You like Atari, and then you go out of business and become extinct. The division started when we were young, and they never went away.
Oh, yes. But now you have the advent of, online gaming and social media, which can deliver all new ways of hurt.
Yeah.
And the thing about that is that through the use of, online chat functions and whatnot in-game, you can hide how much of an asshole you are behind a screen name or behind anonymity, with no accountability at all.
Yeah, and that makes it easier to the person harassing them, not just in that, they don't have to be held accountable for it. I think a large portion of it is, most of these people would not act like this in real life, and
exactly.
not just because of accountability reasons, because when you're not face-to-face with that person, you don't really see them as a real person. Even if you're talking to them on something, it's very easy to just view them as a non-entity. Just something
just another avatar.
Just something for your amusement. You don't really think of them as a person. Not like your friend, what's his name? Or, you wouldn't treat... And even beyond, the social aspect of, well, you wouldn't have any friends if you acted that way. Most people that do this would not act like this in person. They just wouldn't. but it's so easy when you don't have a face in front of you. You don't have a person in front of you to not see them as a person.
Being anonymous is great for people that want to do that sort of thing. There's no repercussions. They can just say whatever they want, and it'll never get back to them in real life.
I mean, you see it all the time in online gaming.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've never played Warcraft, but I'm sure it's incredibly rampant. Warcraft, League of Legends.
League. I actually am mutual follows and really good friends with someone that works at Riot, and they're doing a lot to actually curb the hate speech and the vitriol that is League of Legends. They're working really hard at that. Oh god, yeah.
Really?
League is working really hard at that. They're trying. They're doing a lot. They're really trying. Did you see the lesbian subtext video that they showed us a couple weeks ago?
I have
That
not.
was cool.
I have not. So what methods are they trying to do to curb that sort of stuff?
They're taking reporting a lot more seriously, and they've still got the tribunal, but that was always in place, as far as I know, or at least it. And they've got that, and they're taking it a lot more seriously, and they're actually listening to people and saying, you know, this isn't the kind of game that we want people to play. This isn't the community we want to have, and we take this stuff seriously.
Care to explain what the tribunal is to those who have not played the game?
Oh god, the tribunal is after you hit
short.
a certain level in League of Legends, you can actually review fellow users' abuse reports, and you can be like, all right, this person was acting abusively, or they weren't, and you can basically say, all right, as a group, do we think this person deserves any sort of punishment for their actions, or do we think this was just a one-time thing and we're gonna let it? You can vote and say, all right, is this a legit report, or was somebody just being hateful, kind of thing. Like if somebody goes AFK, or if somebody's yelling slurs or whatever.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
It's really cool. It's a nice feature they do have. It's really neat. And I loved the video. The video was cool. They could have put the two straight. They could have done the straight couple, but they gave us lesbians. Thank you, Riot. Thank you.
Ta-da!
Praise Jesus. Like, it was great. I'll link it in the chat box. But it was called A New Dawn, I believe, and it was one of their first fully rendered CGI videos to give you a little backstory onto the characters, and it had some very serious lesbian subtext. Even if I didn't have my shipper goggles on, I would have been like, that's a little gay. It's a little bit gay.
But good. I'm glad that Riot I'm glad that League of Legends is taking that more seriously, because
They are.
I mean it's definitely one of the major criticisms of games like Warcraft. It's a huge drawback. So I'm glad to see.
If you're on PvE servers in WoW, you turn your chats off. There's like no point. Like even I was on an RP PvE server, or RP PvP. I was on Emerald Dream, and you just shut off trade chat. It was useless. You could not get any information out of it because it was just people yelling slurs, and you'd be like, "Wow, really? Like, what is the point of that?" WildStar did pretty good at it, but like WildStar's user interface is just and it still requires like 50 tons of tweaks to actually be able to raid with some sort of like consistency. So
Well, I thought you were enjoying it immensely.
I'm enjoying it, but I'm poor, so I had to unsub. So I was like, oh, yeah, it's fun, but also Elizabeth's not really feeling MMOs, and we're both poor. We're just playing League right now because we're broke.
Hey, League's free.
So, League is free,
Why
and
the hell
I
not?
think if either one of those MMOs ever went free, it would be great. None of them are going to anytime soon because Blizzard and WildStar's brand new. It's not going free to play.
Yeah.
Hell no. Like, nope. But the thing with WildStar is it's stupidly hard. Like, it is ridiculously, we're talking harder than Vanilla WoW hard. Their raid attunement is ridiculous. Like, it has at a level of, this is not for casuals. And I hate to say it, but I'm pretty casual. Like, I was number 9 Holy Paladin on my server. I can do it. I just don't necessarily want to at this point in time. There's a lot more to be said when you're unemployed and you have nothing better to do versus working a bajillion jobs and you're like, do I really have to do this? Like, getting yelled at by somebody.
But the question is, which of those two are the person they're focusing on? Which is their primary market?
They are totally focusing on the people that have the time to burn for. Absolutely. And they're actually billing it as a game that is specifically catering to that end game and not being for casuals and providing challenge. So that's exactly what they're going for, and I'm wondering if they're losing their casual player base because of it.
Well, do they want their casual player base? That's the thing.
That's a good question.
Like, are they trying to market for the people who are, for the raiders who are burned out on WoW because there's not enough content and it's not difficult enough, and they're trying to get those people, which is, I mean, they don't. Here's the thing: I think a lot of people have never understood, and not you, but I mean just in general. No MMO needs to beat WoW, ever. All you need is to figure out what niche you are and get enough people to pay your company's bills.
Somebody tell Square that.
What's the deal with Final Fantasy XIV? My computer can't run it.
I hear that 14's actually good. I have not played it.
I heard that too.
Yes.
I heard it also has gay marriage.
I have heard that Final Fantasy XIV, since they redesigned it.
Yes, since they made 14.5.
Yeah, since they redesigned it, it's really, really good. I'm still not playing it.
I would love to. I was very tempted when Final Fantasy XI first came out to go to it. I was tempted when Final Fantasy XIV came out until it was shown that it was complete crap. I just don't have the time or money to spend on an MMO every month anymore. That's why I haven't played since
that was free was Neverwinter.
Lichkin. Huh?
Neverwinter was a good free MMO. Neverwinter was good.
Well, if I was gonna play a free one, I'd be on Guild Wars 2 still.
Oh, that's right, because Guild Wars 2 is free when you buy it, isn't it?
Guild Wars and Guild Wars 2 are both free after you buy them, and I own both of them.
No shit.
Yes.
I don't know if my computer can run Guild Wars 2. Maybe.
And it has my favorite class of all time, the Mesmer.
The Mesmers, I thought, yeah.
Every single game should have a Mesmer, and just choose a new name so that you're not actually infringing copyright.
Nice. Adventures of Mesmers, Part 17.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
That's great. Yeah, but like I said, Riot's being awesome. The Wildstar people are awesome. They're awesome. I'm hoping to get them on my new podcast that I'm going to try and start up. Maybe, hopefully, possibly. We'll see. But I wrote them. And Ronnie, you know how you told me to write those guys about that gatekeeping article thing? They actually followed me on Twitter and started talking to me. Which is kind of weird.
Oh no,
See, I told you.
Yeah. I'm like, why are they talking to me? Oh, you're from the thing. So they're trying to figure out what they need to do to be more receptive to women in gaming and tech. So I sent them some links and said, go read.
I wasn't trying to be mean in it. I was just saying,
I know. They actually wrote me back. That's all I was saying. I was like, wow, they actually talked to me.
Okay.
I have like 800 Twitter followers that half of them don't talk to me. So it's like, what is the point of this?
Are you God?
No. No.
Well, be that as it may, we've got time for one more thing to bring up before I close the first half. So, Ronnie.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about how I feel that we are currently in the middle of a renaissance for indie games.
This should be fun.
And what I think led us to this.
We so are.
Part of what I think led us to this, leading into this, is AAA titles, as Brian brought up with graphics earlier, it's going into that. AAA titles feel the need to work with larger and larger budgets, leaving them with smaller and smaller margins. Despite how much money you would assume that a AAA title brings in, when the cost of the budget goes up and up more and more, they're actually bringing back the same or less than they did in the past. This means that an unprofitable game can kill a smaller studio and damage a larger one. This is part of the reason why AAA titles are taking a lot less risks nowadays. It's part of the reason why we see so many sequels. Franchises, even if they've leveled off or aren't doing anything new, they generally will sell at least as much as the previous one did, which makes them safe. So AAA titles are trying to be more safe. There are a couple of exceptions, but there's less exceptions than there were in the past. This leaves a huge huge market that the indie games have stepped into. They're inexpensive for the most part, so that they make it very easy for you to sample, very easy for you to recommend to someone. You might, you know that your friends that don't have a lot of money. You might not recommend a $60 game to them, but you can recommend a $5 game. You can recommend a $3.99 game, and they'll check it out. And these games, because they're made with much smaller budgets, they can be very experimental. They can try things that other things haven't tried before. And by getting creative with their graphics, they can still be beautiful. You notice, I salivated when I saw the new Legend of Zelda trailer. I can appreciate graphics like that. But I played Fez recently, and I can appreciate those graphics. That game was beautiful. Beautiful in its own way, very different. And that difference, that's the experience that a lot of us crave. It made you look at the game in a different manner. It made you look at the world it was in a different manner. And the best indie games do that. Fez, Bastion, The Binding of Isaac, Super Meat Boy, newly Shovel Knight. These games all take concepts and ideas that we had in the past and turn them on their head. They give us a new experience, different than what we've done in the past. They get to be experimental. They get to have experiment. They get to do all these things that the AAA titles used to be able to do, and they can't anymore. And they're giving us that experience, and that's why they're thriving. I'm going to take a break for a second and let you guys respond, because I'm talking a lot, and I will keep going.
Okay. I certainly agree with pretty much everything you said there. Not only are indie games getting a renaissance, but I think part of that included in the indie renaissance, retro games. I mean, retro games are experiencing an immense revival because there is still a market for them. I mean, for example, us in our late 20s, early 30s are seeing these retro style games coming out. Cthulhu Saves the World, Breath of Death. I'm going to plug Tanya, Chronicles of a Dark Lord, Episode 1.
One other thing I think really made this possible is before, when you had indie games, they didn't really have much of a way to get money together. So this would all be by shoestring budgets, people working multiple jobs. And then Kickstarter took off.
Yes.
And Kickstarter is the indie story, is the indie success story. It's not that there aren't failures in there. It's not that there aren't things that haven't come out, but
Shadow of the Eternals. Anyway,
but Kickstarter has really it's given indie games, if you have a good idea and you can get enough people to believe in your idea, you can make it. And that's amazing. It brings a whole new thing into the ball game. I honestly believe that if we did not have Kickstarter, the indie game renaissance that we have right now would not be around. There would even the indie games that didn't directly get money from Kickstarter. The culture that Kickstarter has brought around has made everything come together.
Pretty much.
I can certainly agree with that. There's definitely some truth to that. I mean, there are games that would never see the light of day had it not been for Kickstarter. And the fact that there are markets that still there are still enough fans of these types of games to continue putting support behind these games. It speaks volumes.
Yes. So, one thing I wanted to mention, I was talking about this. So, for you guys, I know you both have. What do you guys see as some of the top indie games to come out of this time period?
Oh, geez.
No pressure.
No pressure. I know.
Well, I was gonna say, Brian can go first. Kat, you can have some time to think.
Yes. Let's see. Bastion. That's a big one. Bastion.
Bastion made me emotional at the end.
Oh,
no spoilers.
Doesn't it just?
Yeah, it really kicked me in the gut at the end.
Doesn't it just? I mean, both.
Have either of you beaten Transistor?
I have.
No.
Yeah, about that. About that. Yeah.
No spoilers.
That's all I have
please.
to say about that.
Yeah. So both games by Supergiant actually very good. The Behemoth with Battle Block Theater and Castle Crashers. I've not played Alien Hominid,
I
so
love Castle Crashers so much.
Apparently, Brian and I are going to play that at some point.
You have to invite me.
well, I will. Do you have it on Steam?
I do.
Oh, goody!
Yay! And a controller.
And I'm just thinking about other games that I've got that I've downloaded through Xbox Live or...
You played Chronicles of a Dark Lord. I hooked you up with a freaking key for that.
I have Chronicles of a Dark Lord. I beta tested the Nightmare version.
Ah, that's what I thought.
So, that's also an incredibly good game. I've been playing... Let's see, I played a game called Iron Brigade, which is tons of fun. Happy Wars, which I may have mentioned once or twice on this podcast before. Cthulhu Saves the World was a hilarious romp.
You're welcome.
Yeah, yes. Gianna Sisters, not so much of a hilarious romp.
Sorry. I can't be 100%. Come on.
I know.
I mean, for me, Fez was a huge one. That was probably, out of all of the indie games I've played, that's probably the number one to me.
Its creator was an asshole.
Its creator is very controversial, for good or bad. But that doesn't affect. But that's not whether the game is good or not.
True.
And I'm not one to say you should not if the creator's an asshole, it is completely within your rights to not go and do his stuff. But take a look, because a lot of the stuff, he's a controversial figure, and not all the stuff he said is wrong. He's a very emotional person, who does not pull back on what he says. I'm not going to defend what he said, because a lot of things I disagree with, but a lot of things I'd agreed with as well. He got a lot of bad, when people said some stuff about him and his game, he got very emotional about it, and that's where a lot of this came from. But I'm not going into that. Neither here nor there. I was just talking about, as the game itself, Fez is probably the most fully realized experience out of all of them to me. It was an adventure. Like playing the Legend of Zelda, the original, for the first time when you were a kid, and you had no idea where those heart pieces were. You had no idea where to bomb in the walls or where to burn the bushes. You just experienced. You found secrets and you were just amazed at them. You got to look at, as you got different abilities, you got to look at the world in a different way. Just everything in the game, it was the perfect indie experience to me. Not everybody is going to agree with me, and that's perfectly fine. Bastion is a great game. Bastion is an amazing game. Transistor, I know how good Transistor is. There's so many amazing games out there, and part of what makes this indie renaissance so special is that there's something out there for you. It doesn't matter what kind of game you like. It doesn't matter what brought you to gaming in the first place. There's something for you out there if you can just find it.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing I can really add to that. I mean, go on Steam and just take a look at the thousands and thousands and thousands of games out there.
Ronnie, conversation killer. This is why he doesn't let me on podcast that often.
I don't know. I love Transistor, and I love Bastion, and I love Chronicles of a Dark Lord. I want to get an iProduct so I can play, oh god. Revolution 60, which I heard was really good, by one of my Twitter followers, Space Cat Gal. She makes games. And I've heard that her game on the iPad and iPod and whatever is really good. So I want to check that out. Awesome female protagonist cast, but I don't have an iProduct, so sad. That would be fun. And
I don't know if I want to get. I thought about thinking about getting an iThing.
Yeah, me too.
For indie games, but since so many games out there that I play are also available on PC, it's like, okay, I'm not even gonna bother now. But whatever.
yeah, I mean, I haven't played a lot of indie titles recently. I mean, I play Castle Crashers. I play a Virus Named Tom was cute, but it's a pain in the ass. If you don't like puzzles, don't play it.
I really want to get Shovel Knight.
I heard Shovel Knight is really good. I really want to get it too, but
I want that game so badly.
we're all like, I heard Bravely Default was good too.
Bravely Default is amazing, but that's not indie.
Yeah, it's not. It's mainstream. So
Yes.
no. As for indie games, I'd have to say that I'm digging Chronicles of Dark Lord still. I replay it because it's cute, and I'm like, oh, I like this because it's representative. It's nice to be like, hey, I can relate to that. Representation matters.
Exactly.
I feel like I'm represented by Petula from You Are Not the Hero, because she is an item clerk salesman who comes in and gets ransacked by the heroes who move on to do their adventure. And I really feel like that at Walmart, so I feel like I'm being represented by this item shop clerk.
Somebody give him a hug.
If there was a coffee vendor, I would feel represented.
Seriously, like, I have so many awesome Kickstarters that I'm waiting to come in.
I want to get Ninja.
God.
Oh, Ninja Pizza Girl. I want to back Ninja Pizza Girl to get that. That's a thing. I heard that was really good. You guys haven't heard of Ninja Pizza Girl, huh?
I actually have, but I haven't looked into it yet.
Yeah, that's one that I want to back because it looks really cool. Definitely.
Well, then go do it.
And you guys have all heard me rant about Mighty Number 9 and how
I
excited
am
I am.
so excited for Mighty Number 9.
Oh
yes.
my god.
Crap.
Not Mega Man.
Not Mega
Mega Man!
And I really
in case
hope...
you were curious, Capcom.
Here's a question for you, Brian.
News.
If Mighty Number 9 explodes as big as it seems like it's going to, do you see a lot of not old video games coming out? Do you see a not Castlevania coming out?
I think that might be in the future. I think
I can't see one.
I think if not Mega Man takes off as everything says it's going to when it comes out next year.
As a backer, I've seen a lot of the videos and early screenshots, and oh my god, it looks
what I'm
amazing.
hoping above all else, I'm hoping that the game blows away everybody, but I'm also hoping that the guy who's making it, the guy who made Mega Man,
Keiji Inafune,
gives the biggest set of middle fingers to Capcom.
Oh god, yeah.
He already has.
Remember, this is the company that said, "Oh, there's no demand for Mega Man anymore."
He was the one. He got screwed by Capcom in so many ways.
I heard that. I feel bad.
I don't feel bad for him. You want to know what? He is going to be more profitable from Mighty Number 9 than he ever was at Capcom.
That's a good point. Okay, I feel less bad.
And remember, Capcom said there's no demand for Mega Man, yet they're putting out another HD remake. They're putting out yet another remake of Resident Evil 1. And they just put out the 4th incarnation of Street Fighter 4.
The second one of those, I think, is completely... I won't say ridiculous, but that is unnecessary. Another remake of Resident Evil 1? Honestly, it's... How many years has it been since the last one?
The problem is there's no... that argument kind of holds no water because the Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 are very, very readily accessible. You can get them on the PlayStation Network.
Yes, but here's the question. How many newer gamers are playing them? If their premise is to get newer gamers into the series and showcase one of their early hits, it's completely that doesn't seem weird to me at all.
Yeah, I know. You and I both disagree immensely on remakes, and
you and I aren't the target of most of these remakes. If you have like 6 years in between remakes, you're trying to hit a different demographic than your original one.
If it was me calling the shots, it'd be like, okay, it's just an HD remake of the GameCube remake of Resident Evil 1. Get a fucking Wii or a GameCube and get the game.
Yes, but how many people are going to do that? How many people even know they want to do that?
It's not like the game has been buried in a landfill somewhere. You can still get it very, very easily.
Whatever, yeah.
I'm like, oh, thank you, Capcom. Here's yet another cash grab. So,
it isn't that it isn't necessarily a cash grab. It definitely is them trying to get more money, but to me, it's more of a thoughtful choice in that they are trying to get more people back into Resident Evil.
Well, here's another thought.
Especially after the failure that was the last Resident Evil.
Here's another thing. Why is it only Resident... This is going to be the fourth version of Resident Evil 1. Why doesn't Capcom show the same love and attention for HD remakes with Resident Evil 2 or 3?
Here's the argument I've heard on that. And that is...
There's not enough demand for it.
No, not that. The argument I've heard is that... The argument I'll put forth. They're not trying to sell these HD remakes to the fans of the original Resident Evil 1. They will go and... Some of them are going to go and buy it, but they're trying to get the younger people who weren't around to experience Resident Evil 1. That's what each of these is for. Which means they can't release Resident Evil 2 and assume that these people know or played the first one, and the stories do connect. So the premise I've heard is that each time they've released Resident Evil 1, their intention was to go on to Resident Evil 2, and then Capcom drops the ball because of reasons, because they're Capcom.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, why didn't they... I mean, a lot of people bought... tons of people bought the remake when it came out on GameCube, myself included. Why didn't they continue? That logic to me, if they're still holding to that same logic with the upcoming HD remake of the remake,
they should go to the second one.
Then go to the second game.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I would love to see a remake of the second game. I'm of the opinion that their original plan was to do it with the last one, and then Capcom. You know the crap that they do. They drop the ball because somebody got fired, or
they're putting their money into yet another version of Street Fighter 4.
Or they needed to pull the people that were going to do this to do a different game, or somebody got a wild hair up their ass and decided Resident Evil 2 was like...
I would love to see William Birkin and Nemesis in full glorious HD.
Yes. And you have a rule of not buying games that you already own, and you would probably pick up Resident Evil 2 if it was remade, would you not?
I probably would, because those two games, ever since they came out on the PlayStation, that's it.
Honestly, I really wish that they should have done a Resident Evil 1 and 2 HD collection. Do the two of them together.
No. All right, this first half has gone almost an hour. I think we should.
Yeah.
We should wrap.
I should have left the indie renaissance for the second half.
That's okay. I've got a nice sizable topic for the second half. So,
can I bring one thing up before we move on?
Make it quick.
I'll make it very quick. We mentioned Shovel Knight earlier. I just wanted to say how cool I think it is that 60% of their first month sales were on Nintendo consoles.
Indeed. That made me happy.
Yeah, especially since Nintendo consoles are generally considered a place where indie games cannot make profit. But Shovel Knight proved that there is a base for indie fans there.
Oh, yes.
And I think that's hugely important.
Immensely.
And that's all I had to say.
And that's all you're going to say, because I'm cutting this first half right here. So on our second half, we will continue the open discussion. No idea what's going to happen. It might be another 60 minutes of the Ronnie Whited show. So, you have some music. We'll be back in a few minutes, where Ronnie will then take over as host, and I will go get fellatio somewhere. We'll be back! Welcome back to Downloadable Content. In this free play episode, we are all still here. We have not buggered off elsewhere. We're all still here. So we will resume our wonderful chat, now that the table has gone back to me again. I will open the second half with the discussion that has been making the rounds in some quarters of the internet. And this particular idea came to me in a status update that Tanya put up on Facebook not too long ago. Her post led to this discussion. She mentioned that GameStop is now offering a credit card. So I'm guessing that GameStop, in its attempt to stay relevant, is trying to be all things to all gamers, much like Walmart is trying to be all things to all humanity.
Yep.
And the point she was making in her post was about how obscene, how obscene of a interest rate, because it was something like a 27% interest rate or something right around there for a GameStop credit card, and then went into a bit of a rant about GameStop. And further along in this chat thread that stemmed from that post, somebody brought up the idea that GameStop is largely relevant because of their used game business. and somebody brought up, the idea of digital distribution versus physical copies, which got me thinking. In this, day and age of our current next-gen consoles and things like Steam, and how more and more of our games are being delivered to us digitally, there's been some discussion in various places of the internet about, the advantages of digital distribution of games versus having a physical copy. And I find it seems that for many older gamers, they still prefer having the physical copy, while acknowledging the positive benefits of digital distribution. I mean, you get it quickly. There's, you don't have discs cluttering up, shelf space. For a video game company, that's one less expense. You don't have to go through producing physical discs with cases and manuals.
This is something that I feel very strongly about. And
course you would.
And it's very funny because I feel very strongly in a way that is completely detrimental to who I am. I believe that we are without a doubt going into digital distribution, that in the next 20 years, less, probably 10 years, but I'll say within 20, I guarantee within 20, we're not going to have physical games. It's digital. It'll be digital in the next 10 years. It's going to happen. For companies, it makes all of the sense in the world. You can see the exact same thing going on in the book industry right now, going into ebooks.
Or the movie industry. I mean, hell, Netflix has pretty much killed Blockbuster.
Yep. It's without a doubt it's going to happen. Right now, the thing that's that's making them not move to fully digital yet is because it's really hard to sell a fully digital game at Walmart. And here's why that's important. Because a lot of people, especially casual people, go in and look at the list and look at the games in Blockbuster or look at the new games at any of the video game stores, and that's how they know what's out, and that's what they know what they're buying. Basically, all it is basically a big billboard. And eventually they're going to come out with the Amazon of video games, where it's a place where everyone can buy their digital stuff. Steam is trying to be this right now, and we're going to move to it. There's no doubt in my mind. It's just a matter of time. And I say it's detrimental to me because I prefer physical copies. I don't like digital copies at all. But that's where it's going to go. There's not a doubt in my mind. No matter what people's preference is, it's going to happen. And the people who prefer, because keep in mind, there's people who prefer digital and there's people who prefer physical copies. They're not going to keep both happy.
No, and as I mentioned before you brought up your points, older gamers tend to prefer the physical copies, while the younger you get, the more preference is leaning toward digital, which makes perfect sense. I mean, we grew up blowing NES cartridges.
Well, there's a big issue with, and now that I've said why I think, I'll say why I disagree with it. Your Xbox 360 is going to die. Your PS3 is going to die. Your Xbox is going to die. Your Xbox 720p will die someday. The more advanced a system gets, the shorter its lifespan typically is. We can fix an NES until the end of time, because it is simple and it is easy to fix. Not so with an Xbox 360. The arcane inner workings of an Xbox 360 is akin to the inner workings of hell, where you must sacrifice a goat on a full moon during the solstice if you want to get it to not have the red ring of death anymore.
Good to know.
And that's the problem with digital distribution is, if your system dies and you have a bunch of CDs and you have a bunch of cartridges, you can get a new system or you can repair the system you have. But if you're New system dies. Maybe you can put the hard drive over it and it'll still let you play. Possibly. Usually not. And you're going to lose the stuff. And they don't link it to your account in most cases. And when they do, they aren't necessarily going to let it link to a new one, which means what you buy on one of their consoles is not compatible with the other ones. How many games have I bought on 3DS that I'd love to play on my Wii, which is on both of them, and it's on my account on both of them? But you have to buy the separate one separately.
I'm going to make a counterpoint before you continue with that. PlayStation Network and Xbox Live, if in the event your system dies,
Will let you switch over, yes.
They will let you re-download your purchases free of charge.
And you are aware that they've toyed around with the idea of making you pay to do that?
They're thinking, they've toyed around there because it's what Nintendo does. Nintendo is the only one of the major, and always has. It wasn't anything like they never changed their minds. This has always been the case with Nintendo. If you download a game to your Wii and it breaks, sucks to be you. Even though you may have an account linked with them, you have to pay again to re-download all those games. That has always been Nintendo's system, and I think it sucks.
I agree with you. But even so, what happens when we don't have 360s anymore? I can come back to an NES game 20 years later and play it.
Yep.
I have a whole drawer full of Super Nintendo games right alongside me right now. I can pop in my Chrono Trigger and play Chrono Trigger, and it will work.
Provided your battery still holds the save.
It still does.
Okay.
And those batteries are replaceable.
Yes.
That is not going to happen with the newer systems. It already isn't happening with the newer systems. And that's the problem with digital distribution. What's the fix to this, to me? Computer over console. That's the reason every indie game I have is on Steam. Because I can switch it from one computer to another. It still doesn't fix the issue of if the company goes out of business, you lose all of your shit. Which in Sony's case, could easily happen. But what happens if the company goes out of business? You're out of frickin' luck. I like to play Tabula Rasa. It was an MMO. They don't make it anymore. You can't play it anymore. What happens with things like where you have the PlayStation Network and then there is no more PlayStation Network? Do we even know how the consoles will really work?
Nope.
Yeah, see, that's like the newer systems are made for obsolescence.
I mean, further going along, not only can a company go out of business, but a company can also shut down its servers on a whim.
Yes.
See Nintendo.
And you are not, and I'm not going to be one of the conspiracy theorists on this, but in a real literal sense, you are not buying a game when you buy digitally. You are buying a license for a piece of software. A license that can be revoked. A license that gives you no real rights if you can't use it anymore because the company goes out of business and for some reason you can't connect to their servers. Or even if you can still use their stuff, if your thing dies, you're out of luck. Like, all of these are legitimate concerns. Real concerns. And, there's no answer to it. It's what we're moving to. It's what we're moving to no matter what. There's nothing we can do about it. But we can try to ease the transition.
Yeah, I mean, and Kat, you've been awfully silent, so feel free to jump in whenever you like.
Okay.
So, some companies have been trying to mitigate that with, the advent, cloud gaming. Sticking your game saves or whatever in the cloud, that nebulous thing that's up there in a billion pieces. I still prefer physical copies over digital any day. So, there might be some situations to alleviate, for For example, if you're going to have a digital-only distribution, one of the things that help is to make it DRM free.
Mm-hmm.
And many indie companies already do this. The big guys will not. You cannot play Mass Effect, for example, even single player, without a connection to the EA servers. Which sucks, by the way. Absolutely sucks, because if you try to... and I ran into this problem. I was playing, like, Mass Effect 2, the single player. I wasn't even playing online. And my router was down because Time Warner was having issues. It would not let you play because it couldn't phone home to EA. It said, nope, we're not letting you access this game because we can't get a connection to the EA servers. I'm like, but it's fucking single player. Nope. Sorry. Then again,
how much does that suck?
Then again, EA is the devil in terms of in video game world. I cannot stand EA at all. But one of the things that might,
Hey, you can't stand EA, and you have a lot of contempt for Capcom right now. You know that EA could buy Capcom at any moment.
I know.
And then everything you hate will combine
into one giant super fuck hate.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Into one giant big ball of fuck everything. And I need to stop because I'm starting to do the Lewis Black finger thing and the son of a bitch,
Yeah.
It's like Time Warner and Comcast
Embrace it.
merging.
Embrace it.
Embrace it. I'll embrace a cactus before I do that. But I mean,
that sounds like something Lewis Black would say.
But I mean, the thing is, a lot of indie games do the DRM free thing. I mean, once you get a copy of the game, it's yours. And that's very much appreciated. It's the big developers that we have to worry about, largely. Again, I just brought up the example that I can't play Mass Effect. I can't play a single player on Mass Effect unless my router's working, because it'll go, no, we can't contact EA servers. We know you're playing single player, but because you can't connect to EA, sucks to be you. You could be pirating this, so we're not going to let you play. So, digital distribution is well on its way, but I think I mean, you said 10 to 20 years. It's probably going to be around that time. I mean, we're already seeing it, and GameStop is fighting to stay alive because they make the bulk of their profits on used games. You can't buy a used file.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
that's true.
GameStop is kind of like the Follett of video games. You buy
Here's the thing. I think that... sorry, you go first.
It's like college textbook stores. You buy a video game for $60, you sell it back to GameStop, get $5 for it, and then they go around and spin it, back again on its shelves for $50. And that is pure profit for them.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So, the closer it gets to full-on digital distribution, the less GameStop becomes relevant, and eventually GameStop will go the way of Blockbuster.
And you know that how good this is for the big market games, for the big market companies. Because when we go all digital, you're not going to be able to get a used copy of a game for $20 off.
Nope.
You buy it new. And you'll buy it new forever, because it will never go out of print.
Right.
So, I was able to buy Final Fantasy VII for $5. Because it's old.
Yes.
But I can look forward to paying $40 for any game, because it'll be priced $60 or $50 when it first comes out, and they'll knock it down to $40, maybe $30, and that will be the price forever. That will really hurt.
Thus making it even longer for you to purchase games.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. And indie games will jump in. Indie games will take the money that used to go to used games. That's what'll happen.
Very likely.
They already are.
They already are.
Yeah.
They already are. I mean, when I linked to you about Transistor being on sale last weekend, did you get it?
No, I did not.
Okay.
It was not something that Deja and I could justify at this point.
Okay.
She just paid $2,000-ish for college that we had to put on our credit card. So
okay, all right.
So I would have loved to.
I'm
play
like,
it.
oh, it's been marked down to 13. Oh, I wonder if this can be. Hey.
I appreciate it, and if it was any normal week, that probably would have been a thing. But we just had to put like 3 things in our card and nearly max it out. So we're in money saving mode right now.
Okay, fair enough. So, alrighty. Well, I'm going to shift once again to Cat. Hi.
Cat's like, I needed 2 topics. Nobody told me 2 topics.
Basically. Nobody told me I had to talk about 2 things. God damn it! I only came here with 1.
Oh no!
Shit.
My second one's just going to be fanboying, so that's fine.
Oh boy. Please, Cat, think of something.
What did I talk about this week? God.
Go back to your blog and just... What the heck?
Okay. You know what? I will go to my blog. Let's go to my blog.
Why not?
Yeah, what did I talk about? I haven't written in my blog in a while. I haven't written my blogs for about 3 weeks, so that's comfortable.
Want me to fangirl while you figure out what you want to talk about?
Give me like 2 seconds. I have something. I have something. I'm actually in the Warcraft Warlords of Draenor beta. I've been in it since it was the alpha, and I've seen a lot of people being like, "This game isn't done yet. What the fuck?" And it's like, this is a beta. When did beta become the new? This thing is done, because it's starting to like really grate on my nerves. Everyone's like, holy shit, why isn't this done yet? This game looks like shit. And it's like, dude, this is a beta. We're supposed to be testing it to make it actually work. Why is this a thing? Why do people do this?
People don't understand what betas are. And a lot of that is because companies have misused betas.
Yes.
Or because, well, it's even not as much they misuse beta, it's that when they introduce people to a beta, they usually introduce them to a late beta, where the game is nearly done and they just need to figure out a couple kinks. Then World of Warcraft and a couple other companies have brought people in during alphas into betas. So you're not there during the 95% complete beta, you're there for the 30% complete beta. And these people don't understand the difference, even though they're being told the difference when they go into it.
Also, some companies abuse the term beta. People pay for, like, paid betas.
Minecraft?
Well,
Arcade, etc., etc., etc.
There are companies that will put out a beta, but you still have to pay for that. And then, then a video game company will go, oh, we've made this shit ton of money, in beta. Why bother finishing it? We've made our money.
Care to name a specific one?
I had one right on the tip of my tongue. Hold on.
Because not that I doubt you, but I'm not really sure I can think of one that has done that, except for the company went out of business, so they couldn't finish their beta.
Hold everything. The lazy Susan of my brain will come back to it. But,
okay. I mean, the big one I thought of was Minecraft, where you could buy the game during the beta forever, and finally when they released, it went up to the price of a full game. I'm glad I bought my Minecraft account back when it was $5, and then kept it forever.
There it is. The game is called Elite Dangerous.
I've never even heard of that game. Not even a little bit.
Have I?
I'm reading an article here from Lazy Gamer. To access the beta, you're going to have to pay up. $50 gets you into the beta, while $150 gets you access to the premium beta, which also nets you a copy of the game when it's finally out, and all of the game's DLC.
That's just completely bullshit.
It was a Kickstarter funded game.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking into it right now. Yeah. That's special.
I knew I had heard of it. I'm like, what? I know there was a game that I read it somewhere, but yes, this is the game. And I'm like, really? You have to, and this also goes along with pardon me while I die over here.
Well, they are still putting it out. It looks like it's supposed to be coming out Christmas time this year.
To further Kat's point, there is also a type of game on Steam that I will not touch, and those are early access games.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, you have to pay. You are paying for an incomplete game. And that is something I outright refuse to do.
Well, here's a question. Do you have a problem with getting early access to a game that's funded on Kickstarter, or is it a game that is marketed as an early access game? Like, let's say Mighty Number 9 offered a level for people to pay to get early access to the game. Would you have a problem with that? Or is it just a game that's marketed as early access as its primary focus?
Not having backed a video game on Kickstarter, I don't know. But I'll give you an example. There's a game on Kickstarter, on Steam called Night Squad.
Okay.
And it looks very good. It looks very good. It kind of reminds me of if Gauntlet was multiplayer.
Okay.
Lot of fun.
Gauntlet is multiplayer. 4 people's multi.
This is like 12 people.
I know. I'm just playing.
You're just pulling my leg.
Back in my day, we had 4 players with a multi-tap, and we liked it.
Yeah, you asshole. Go Cranky Kong somewhere else. But the game is labeled on Steam as early access. It is made plain that...
What was the name of the game again?
Night Squad.
Okay.
And it looks fun. It looks great. I'm waiting for it to finish. I'm waiting for them to finish. I'm not going to give them $10 for a game that is not done. I absolutely refuse, because I cannot cite any game this time, but I have heard that there are games in which people will pay for early access, and they play it, and the developers never bother finishing the game, despite promises by the developer. This is early access, this is beta, we'll finish the game. And they make a shit ton of money because people buy what they already have, and they never finish it. I'm not paying for an incomplete game.
Like I said, I've heard this kind of thing from people before, but nobody can really point me to actual things of it happening to make me go, maybe it happened once, or it's an urban legend, but it's at the very least, it's not a common thing.
It's not incredibly common, but I was just branching off of Kat's point about how people are feeling entitled because people are playing a beta,
and
getting all uppity about it.
I mean, most Kickstarters have one of their earliest levels. Usually there's a $1 level if you just want to be part of the project. Then there's a $15 or $20 level that is you get a digital copy of the game or a physical copy of the game. And then usually there's a $30 or $40 level that is you get a digital copy of the game and you get access to the beta. It varies on what cost it is, but there's always the you get the finished game, and then later on there's you get early access. And if you want to, you can pay for that.
You just mentioned that it's not particularly common, but apparently it happens enough on Steam where Valve issued a warning.
Okay. Maybe that's why it doesn't happen that much anymore.
Valve issued a warning, basically, telling, people on Steam saying, hey, this game that you're buying early access might never be finished. Buyer beware.
Okay.
So, it's almost akin to the idea of paying to be an alpha tester or beta tester. You're basically paying to be QA for an for an unfinished game, and that I personally feel is bullshit.
What I'm reading right here is that there's a warning before all the video game Kickstarters.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about Kickstarter. I'm talking about Steam.
Oh, Steam? Okay.
Yeah. Apparently, it happens enough on Steam where Valve had to issue a warning to basically, to just tell players and potential buyers, this is an early access game. It may never be finished. So, just fair warning. And
it happens.
Yeah.
I mean, if people didn't want to be part of it, they wouldn't. A lot of people want to get early access. They want to play the game from its earlier stages and see where it gets to.
Then those people lose the right to complain if the game is never finished.
I don't disagree.
You assume, if you are presented with the warning that this game may never be released or finished.
Okay, let's put it this way. I've backed a lot of Kickstarters.
Yep.
Not every Kickstarter succeeds.
Nope. And that's the way of it. Yep.
That happens.
Yep.
And if it's something you let's put it this way. I'm not saying they should waive all right to complain. If I really like the beta for a game and then the game never comes out, I'm going to complain about it. If I was in the early access, because I enjoyed the game and I wanted it to finish. I think that's a legit complaint. But, it's the same thing with a Kickstarter. I gave these people my money. I kind of expect something out of it.
You're not allowed to put anything on. You're not allowed to put anything on Kickstarter unless you have to deliver.
Not necessarily. There's things in place, but I won't say a lot of Kickstarters. I've only had 2 Kickstarters not deliver. But it does happen. It's not a huge portion of the time. It's actually very minor, considering how many Kickstarters I've backed. I have a rather large backer history. But things happen. Places go out of business. People did not know how much things were actually going to cost. Companies fall through that were supposed to be doing things. People leave projects. It does happen. It's a terrible thing when it happens, but it's the risk you take. You realize that when you put your money in. That you might be throwing your money into an abyss. A flaming abyss. Fireballs. Dragons. Laser beams on sharks. Swimming in lava. That's where you're throwing your money.
Yeah, there's a link for you, Ronnie. That was about Valve issuing a warning about the early access games.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it happened enough.
Yeah.
But I still don't want to pay.
Nor should you.
To basically test a video game or for an incomplete game. Video games are enough of an expense as it is.
It's not something I would jump into, but if it's a game you feel passionately about, you want to get early access to it, you want to be part of the experience. That's part of it, is you want to be part of the experience of making the game.
And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. I mean, if you want to do that, then go ahead.
I mean, while it wasn't a cost to me, I was one of the people who, from the very beginning, who was doing the D&D 5th edition, all of the the different update packets, playing through them and giving advice to the company. Not because it was the finished state, but because I wanted to be part of it. I wanted to give my input.
And that's fine. I don't think you should pay the developer to provide your input.
Okay.
And that's just me. You may think differently, and that's fine. That's the joy of these types of episodes. We can disagree with each other. How about that?
How is that any different than every other episode we're on together?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I should give you a title every time you come on to download. Yes, and welcome Ronnie, also known as Devil's fucking Advocate.
Ronnie, Conversation Killer. Slayer of Words.
Essentially, English majors fear him. So yes. So thank you, Kat. We hijacked your topic.
It's okay. That's what I kind of wanted to have happen. Like, all I've got to talk about really are, like, cartoon lesbians. Like, that's not relating to video games.
Nope.
But also valid. We can save that for off the air.
Yeah.
We can have the off-air discussion.
Oh.
So, Ronnie, we're going to close with you.
Okay, closing with me. Woohoo!
Because I figure we've gone almost 40 minutes, and I assume you're going to take up 30 more, so...
Probably not, but this is probably a more concise topic.
We'll see about that.
So, these discussions are for anything related to video games.
Absolutely anything.
So, I want to talk about something I am really excited for.
Go ahead.
And something I've been excited for that has already happened. So I assume, or I'm hoping, that you guys have seen the trailer for the new Legend of Zelda.
Oh, yes.
How glorious
it was
is that?
Thrust upon me by Kat.
Oh my god. And the fact that it is returning to the open world concept that we saw in the original Legend of Zelda.
Ah, Zelda. Yay.
We get to take the dungeons in the order we want.
So
we get to
excited.
explore the
I'm
world.
so excited.
We have... It is so great. And
I am buying a Wii U at Best Buy just for that. Now that I work there, I'm like, yep, sign me up. Discount. Let's do it.
And A Link Between Worlds really shows the step in that direction that they were taking. Link Between Worlds is currently my favorite Legend of Zelda game of all time.
That's what you wanted to talk about. I remember now. Keep going.
Yes, I figured out what I want to talk about. A Link Between Worlds is my favorite Zelda of all time at this point. It beating out Twilight Princess, beating out Ocarina of Time. Part of it is the fact that it is semi-open world. You can pick up all of your items at the beginning of the game. Pretty close to the beginning of the game. You can get all the items. And then you go to the dungeons in whichever order you want. For the most part, there's one or two that you have to go to. The first one you have to go to in order. But it's returning to the concept that they had in the original Legend of Zelda, where you start off and you're in the middle of fucking nowhere. And then you go into a cave and there's a weird old guy who gives you a sword. And then you take that sword and you go and murder things. And through the course of murdering things, you find dungeons. And even back in when Zelda came out, Dungeons and Dragons existed. You know that there's something in that dungeon that you want. So you go into that dungeon and you raid it and you find this item, and then there's a big thing and you murder the fuck out of it, and then you grab the shiny triangle and then you do that 8 times. It was a very simple concept and it worked marvelously. And every Zelda afterwards introduced story. And I love story. I'm an RPG gamer primarily. So I am not dissing storyline Legend of Zeldas. I love storyline. But in the course of making a cohesive storyline, they abandoned the freedom that you had in the first Legend of Zelda for a linear approach, so that you had a linear story. And that's fine, but it lost a lot of the magic of the first Legend of Zelda. And I love a lot of them. Twilight Princess was my favorite before this, not the first one, because I love the story. But I think this new one can merge the two. it can give us a story, but it can give us it in a less linear fashion, and it can let us go to where we want to go and explore and see new things and experience new things and see all of this wondrous world of Hyrule. And I love it.
You know, when I saw the Zelda footage from E3, and again, this was thrust upon me by Kat, because I think she came everywhere when that was announced. I'm watching it and I'm seeing, you know, you see the wide angle shot of Hyrule.
Mm-hmm.
And my first thought after being blown away by the sights of this, going, the poverty rate in Hyrule better be 0%, because look at all my next thought was, oh my god, look at all those rupees that are buried in the grass.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hell yeah. It's like, I want to run through those.
There better not be a single poor person NPC in Hyrule.
Link increases inflation by 10,000% every time he walks into town.
It's basically, I mean, it becomes the Zimbabwean dollar. It's hyperinflation. And like, if there's a poor NPC in that game, I just would want to grab him or her bodily and be like, cut some fucking grass.
Well, you do have the issue of there are weird creatures that are going to eat your face out there.
Get a proton pack or something. It's just
get a proton pack. Not everyone has the Master Sword, Brian.
I don't care. I don't care. Make an ocarina out of a stale bread roll. You can do it.
So I've ranted. Are you guys excited for the game?
Oh yes. You know, to further expand upon your love for the upcoming Zelda, I mean, it's just knowing the games that are coming out next year for Nintendo. And as I said this in the E3 episode, 2015 looks to be an amazing year for Nintendo.
So we discussed earlier, Capcom is really good at slapping its fans in the face. Meanwhile, Nintendo's showing that it really can give the fans what they want.
I think this, of all the things they gave us info about, all the stuff that's coming out next year, makes me really think that Nintendo, this particular move by Nintendo is going, we're sorry we did nothing for the first 2 years of this console's life cycle. We're sorry, here, have everything.
Splatoon?
Oh my god! I cannot wait to play that game. You have no idea. I am so excited about Splatoon.
I went, no, Nintendo's not making a MOBA, are they? What the hell? This looks pretty cool.
Everybody I know who's played the demo has talked about how awesome it is. So, I am very, everything I've seen makes me go, I don't know if I'm going to buy it. But I really hope that it takes off.
I hope so too. I'm definitely going to check out, you know, I now feel justified in wanting to buy a Wii U. Finally.
Of course, it'll probably end up like Pikmin, where they will make an amazing new franchise and then drop it after a while. Come back to it when people have forgotten what it is. Nintendo is great at making franchises, but they aren't... Nintendo loves its old franchises, and it's not great about keeping up with newer ones.
Oh yeah, it'll rehash Mario and Zelda to death. But Star Fox...
they're awesome, though.
Yeah, but Star Fox gets no love. Metroid gets no love.
It's amazing to me that Metroid gets as little love as it does. Like...
Donkey Kong Country gets some love.
I say especially after Metroid Prime. Like the 3 games.
No, then they've released that travesty known as Other M.
I still haven't played Other M. I own it. I've heard good and bad things.
Okay, well, that's...
More specifically, and I have not heard a single bad thing to do with the gameplay.
No, all of the bad things I've heard are how they dealt with the characters, but
Yep,
I'll let you sob over that when you get to it.
that's fine. And I'm aware, and we're not going to turn it into that because I have not played it. I'm pretty sure you have not played it.
I haven't.
Right. And I know Kat has not played it, so it'd be us debating what we've heard from people.
Yeah, that's why. That's why. No.
So that's why I'm going to withhold my judgment until I play it myself. I'm
10
not
years
necessarily
from
saying,
now.
I'm not necessarily saying the issues are not actual issues, but the fact that not a single issue seems to come from the gameplay means that even if I hate the characters and story, I'll probably play it through. I probably won't drop it because the gameplay will still be fun.
There we go. Alrighty.
I'll just be one of the people bitching about it.
Yeah, probably, yes. When you eventually get to the game 10 years from now. So,
I'm getting through stuff pretty fast now.
okay.
I'm almost done replaying Final Fantasy VII. I'm going to be jumping on Okami, which I've never finished.
Let us put a nice little bow on this free play episode. So, nicely done for everybody. So, if you want to weigh in on any of the topics we discussed in this episode or any other episode of downloadable content, you can get in touch with us a variety of ways. Facebook.com/DLContent, at Twitter @DLContent, on Tumblr, dlcpodcast.tumblr.com, or you can email us at dlcontent1@gmail.com. So it remains for me to thank Kat and Ronnie for being on this lovely, fine, sophisticated program.
Yes.
Yes, excellent.
Always a pleasure.
Indeed, Smithers.
Release the hounds!
Or the Kraken. I'm Brian. Have a good one, everybody.